there's just a few things that as tribal people that we did all the time. We gathered here at the falls and we fished and we shared time together. We had a meal. After all the work was done, we traded. So later after we honor some of the OG aunties, we're going to have trade items. And it's just casual. You can walk around the room and if you see something you might want to trade for, you can trade somebody. If you want to trade again, retrade, whatever you want. There's no rules. It's just for fun. If you didn't bring anything, that's fine. Later, if you want to give somebody something, you're welcome to do that as well. So I was just thinking about a month ago, I was in Montana for my nephew's graduation at Ronan. And I was visiting with Johnny, our lead. And he was talking about, he had been out in the root fields with the young people. And he was talking about how our grandmothers, the first thing, before anything, we would give thanks, to have gratitude. The Creator would give us and provide everything we needed. We had water potatoes and berries and specklum, everything we needed, the Creator provided. The salmon, the buffalo, all those kind of things. So we begin our gathering today with gratitude. Johnny said that my great-grandmother would take that first berry and she would talk to it. And she would talk about the berry and then she would give it to Johnny. And she would say, that's what you do. You give thanks and you have gratitude. You just don't, what did he say? He said, you don't just start feeding face. You start by having gratitude. Because we have young people, we don't always share all of our tribal knowledge. And for our elders in the room, any time that you can share a little bit of knowledge that you might not think is important, but it's really important. One of our tribal elders couldn't make it today because he had some young people from a youth program coming to his house. And he was going to talk about the sweat house, and he was going to reline the ribs of his sweat house and talk to him about that. So today is a little bit of passing on teachings for those who might not always get to hear some of the tribal teachings. Sharing a little bit about bitter root. For our people, the bitter root, the ethel, it was a lifesaver. It helped us and kept us from starving. Now, if you talk to some of our tribal elders, Johnny was explaining to the kids, it's a little bit bitter. It's acquired taste. And our grandmothers did hard work. And our grandfathers, our Silas, did hard work to make sure we had enough food. They worked from fall to spring. And so it was, sometimes our work is hard. And sometimes it's a bit of an acquired taste. But we've got to help our young people to get back to a work ethic and know that sometimes our work is hard. And if we can share that with them. My daughter right now is a crew boss for the youth program. And she said the kids complain a lot. And I wanted to go talk to them and I say, that a lot of people came before us to make sure that this time was possible. Our ancestors went through a lot of struggles to make sure that we could have our tribes and our programs. I'm going to talk a little bit about just a tiny bit about Indian Child Welfare Act and foster parents. But we have two tables today. One is for foster parenting, because I'd like to encourage us. We were successful at the United States Supreme Court in protecting the Indian Child Welfare Act, that our leaders, none of the rights we have today, Suyapis didn't give them to us. U.S. Congress didn't say, oh, here, have some religious freedom. Oh, here's some water rights. Or, oh, here, let us help you protect your children. Our tribal leaders from the 50s and the 60s, from the time we were going back to D.C., and we have some tribal council here today, that they fought really hard for the American Indian Religious Freedom Act, for the Indian Child Welfare Act, for all of those things that protect our rights today. They fought really hard for them. And so we celebrate that, and we walk in that achievement today. I just wanted to, again, when we talk about the bitter roots, our people worked so hard. Today it's kind of easy. We go to the grocery store, and our kids don't always know where their food comes from. But we have some families. I know Betty Jo is here, Jeanie Louie, folks that Annette, folks that are learning our medicines and understanding what our plants are. Johnny was talking about, we don't know what the future is going to be. What if our electricity goes off and we have to go back to Mother Nature? We have to think about what our traditional foods are, whether it was the water potatoes or the huckleberries. Just think about our traditional foods. I'm going to stop so we can get our lunch and visit a little bit. I'm going to come back and share with you just a little bit of tribalism and kinship, and then we're going to honor some OG aunties. So if we want to, if elders want to start and go ahead and get their plates, we have some pork tip, I think, and pulled pork, cornbread, potato salad, mac and cheese. Okay, and then we have some salad. So if the elders can get up, and if people want to serve the elders, that would be great too. Again, we're thinking about feeding their family. It was time for people to go dig camas. It was time to begin our hard work for the summer because our people worked hard. And so the people that would dig camas would bring horses to the camas field between Kalispel, Cusick, and Montana. And the people that would go to hunt buffalo would stop and would take those horses. And so when they got back from the buffalo hunt, they would give buffalo meat to the folks that were digging camas. And the folks that were digging camas would give the folks that traded the buffalo meat to the buffalo hunters. And so we were all trading. We were all working together, exchanging horses, exchanging camas, exchanging buffalo meat. And so this is just a beautiful part of our culture. And I just wanted to think about, this time of year when the wild rose comes and when we take care of each other and exchange horses. Everyone did their part working together and exchanging, bringing buffalo meat to the camas diggers. There were 2 buffalo hunts. The second buffalo hunt was in the fall. Again, we knew because of the natural life, the choke cherries would come, and then we knew it was time for the fall buffalo hunt. We knew all those things as tribal people. And we didn't waste. We'd cut out maybe 100 buffalo or something that we wanted. And everybody, 100 people would go and do the work. Women would be down below, maybe ready to cut the buffalo. But everybody did their part. So just a few things to share. Just recently, and I'm going to ask Isaac to come up and give us a song with music. And I know this poor thing is probably trying to eat. But so just recently at Eastern Washington University, we had a graduation. And it was so beautiful to see the Native graduates. And this was just a small number of them because not everybody could get back to the powwow for graduation. And I thought how beautiful this was. But then I also stopped for a moment. And I thought, where's our young men? And that we've got to do something more to lift up our young men. We have a lot of young nephews and great-nephews out there, and we've got to just do something to reach out to our young men. So one of the 2 people that I invited was our foster care system, because we need foster families. Jeff and I have foster families. It's not easy. Those of you there, I know there's lots of foster families. Esther, lots of grandmas and aunties and moms and dads and uncles that have had foster kids. It's really hard. The kids cuss you out. They just want their mom or dad. They don't know why they have to be with you. It's not fun, but we need foster parents. So please consider also the Camas Institute. They have a foster family system. And then we also have AGC, the contractors. They have opportunities for carpentry, for electricians, for plumbing. My hope and dream is that we can write a grant to bring these programs out to the tribe as well, so that our young men don't get left behind. I don't know about you guys, but I don't have any electricians. I can't get a plumber out on the reservation, and even here in town, it's so expensive. So
Margo, get more husbands.
Amen. Spoken like a true auntie. I see she didn't bring her eldest husband.
Looking for younger ones.
Oh yeah, younger ones. Why said we can have yours? Jeff, you're the only one, honey. You're the only one. So we have some contractors here just to share that they have information. And then, again, just think about being a foster parent. This is one of my favorite pictures. Jeff and I were doing a multimedia camp over at the Yakama Nation. And this grandma was reading to her grandchildren. And she's got her Nike sliders. This grandma's an OG badass. I don't even know who she is. I'd have to ask Auntie Patsy here from the Yakama Nation. But it's just, anything we can do to lift up our young people. And I said, I asked my little cousin Isaac to give us a song because I wanted to think about, we're here, we're going to honor OG Aunties, but I wanted to have a song for our young men and a prayer and thought for them. When the salmon chief, when it got time, he would ask one young man to sing a song to call those salmon home. And when the hydropower and the dams and all that stuff came, we lost out on those opportunities for leadership. We lost out on a lot of ways to have our young people help us with ceremony and to lift them up so they could feel special and proud. And so I asked my cousin Isaac Tonasket to come and sing a little song for us. He's always a big help, and we're real proud of him. So Isaac.
Yeah.
As Indigenous women, we were going to begin to honor some of the aunties. You know, we have to be careful. As Indigenous women, we are made to be sacred and to be respectful. Sometimes we lose our sacredness. Sometimes if we're screaming at our children, we have to remember that children are a gift. They are a gift from the Creator. And just to remember to keep our sacredness. You know, this world always pushes us to do more and to be more. And we got to remember that as women, we have to slow down and keep our sacredness. And to not scream at our children and be in the moment with our families, to not be on our phones. And for our young people to take time to be with each other. I want to especially thank Empire Health Foundation and Zeke and Colleen and all the staff here. They made it possible for us to have a lunch and have this space. I apologize for the parking. I know it's horrendous. But the American Indian Community Center, we are working on our forever home. And so someday we'll be down by the river and we'll have enough space for all of us. And we won't have to worry about things of where we can pay people to park, right? We'll have our own space once again. We are going to have a time for trading, but I wanted to begin with some of the recognitions for OG Aunties. A couple years ago, when we changed the name from Fort George Wright Drive to Puistock's Way, we honored a lot of different aunties, right? That was 30 years. There's some folks that went to the college when it was the old name, and some of the OG aunties are here that could testify. In fact, there's some aunties, Teresa Ellisoff and folks, that could testify to when they had to fight to get an Indian Child Welfare Act unit from Spokane to Seattle. And everybody was mad because of the funding. And if we have time, we'll let them share a little bit. But I wanted to start, these are some of the junior OG aunties before we get to some of the big aunties. The OG aunties. So first, I'd like to recognize Annette Peone. Annette is so talented. She's an artist that went to IAIA, and I couldn't possibly begin to read all of these folks' bios. She's a high tanner, canoe carver, best yayas. She's doing everything to teach people about medicines and plants. She's working on learning the language. She always steps up to help with Culture Week and Potato Week, potato days over at the Coeur Tribe. So I'd like to recognize that. So I'm going to move through this quickly so we can have some time for trading. And this isn't everybody that we'd like to recognize, but at home on our reservations, we always hold up our tribal council, and a lot of times that's men. And those of us that have education, we get accolades. So sometimes it's And there's people I'd recognize, but they told me they didn't want any attention and they want to sit in the back of the room. Cheryl Butterfly. She's somebody who helps dry meat and cut meat and always helps with Culture Week. And she would go and visit folks that were shut in. You know, my sister passed away last year, but Cheryl would always navigate her way through my mom's trailer house and go to the back room and find my sister. So I appreciate Cheryl Butterfly. Next, I'd like to recognize Penny Spencer. Penny is one of our people. She's out on the Spokane Indian Reservation. She does Spokane Tribal Network. Again, we partner with her when we got bikes from Types. She found the families that were most in need. Elk Soup is our nonprofit, and we always count on Penny to help us do some of our work out in the tribal communities. She has been a foster mom, and she wouldn't even say that because they're her own kids. But one of the most beautiful people we know, Penny Spencer. Our next person that we'd like to recognize, Wendy Wynecoop.
Yeah, Mom!
Wendy works with the school districts, and we have a lot of kids that really struggle. Maybe they have anxiety, or maybe their parents aren't even in the picture. But when the kid needs a ride to school, Wendy shows up. And we have a lot of deaths in our community and of young people. Those are folks that sometimes struggled and sometimes struggle with addiction. But when they were going through high school, they know they could always count on Wendy. So Wendy Wynecoop.
Yes, Mom!
Yeah, Wendy.
So another amazing kind of junior OG auntie, one of the colleges, Evanlene Melting Tallow. There's lots of folks at our tribal colleges, but when our students are struggling or they need to find out where to go for tutoring or the math lab, or they need to be included in the powwow, or they just need to get to work to help with the powwow, and be involved and participate. Evanlene is really supporting our young people. She's worked at North Idaho College, at WSU, and now we're so happy to have her at EWU. Next, I'd like to recognize Dr. Martina Whelshula. Dr. Whelshula is the director of the Healing Lodge. She works with NARCH, the Harvard folks, bring them in to do research so that we have really good information to help our young people when they go home to the tribal communities. She helped design the treatment center out in Keller. Lots of reasons that we could recognize Dr. Whelshula. OG auntie. We're starting to creep up in there to the OG aunties now. The next one I'd like to recognize is Betty Jo Piengkham. Betty Jo served on Kalispel Tribal Council, but more than that, when our kids are out in the canoe and my kids have paddled, Betty Jo has been there to feed them, to look out for them, to set up camp for them, to do all kinds of things. And so Betty Jo has really helped support all the cultural activities on her reservation, and we just appreciate her so much, so Betty Jo. OG aunties. In fact, I got a question. What does OG stand for? And I'm like, yeah. Kind of the straight out means original gangster. term. And so I looked it up, and it said a young people slang term for original gangster, but it means classic, extraordinary. It's a compliment for someone who is exceptional or authentic. Yeah. So our OG Aunties. Next, I'd like to recognize Yvonne Swan. Yvonne is one of our aunties. You know, most of the young people don't know this, but from our grandmothers, the only things they could do was be a waitress or maid. And our grandmothers, but they took pride in it. You know, Yaya Marion, she won awards and was the best that they could be. But that was the opportunities. And so for the next generation, for our mothers, they were relocated to cities. And Yvonne was part of that relocation era and was sent to California and learned fashion design and a lot of things. But Yvonne has resisted colonization from here to Canada and contributed footage for Derek Lemire's film. And we're so proud, Yvonne, that could be here with us today. Yvonne.
I'm going to go to New York and be a famous fashion designer. I went to New York to find a lawyer.
Next, I'd like to recognize Jeanie Louie. Jeanie has served on the tribal council of the Coeur tribe, but she also served the Colville tribe for many years. Our BIA Realty Department, she had just did amazing things protecting our lands. She serves as a cultural advisor for the Coeur tribe and just does so many amazing things, organizing medicine and family camps and different things. So Jeanie Louie. I'm getting gifted. My sister's Debbie.
Linda, thank you all. And just for Margo's information, her favorite, Deb Louie, who was her driver during the winter times when they were on the gaming commission. OGC to him was original golden child. So, OGC.
Yep. Next, I'd like to recognize Linda Tonasket. Linda's one of our Tallow probably champion leg wrestler way back in the day. For 35 years, she served the Keller Head Start. Before that, she worked for the Colville tribe and served at the community center. We could go on and on about the amazing things of Linda Tonasket, but she came in from Keller. Let's hear it for Linda. Oh, hey, I think she needs leg hooks.
You want a leg wrestle?
Yeah! You got some space up your end. They drove in from Keller. Robin was going 75. Next, I would like to recognize one of our Yakama OG Aunties. And I want to tell you a little bit about Patsy Whitefoot. She was raised by her maternal grandparents in Medicine Valley and White Swan. Early education and traditional lifeways in the Yakama tribe provided a foundation that continues in her work with her grandchildren, students, and families. Patsy has a group in Yakama called the White Swans. And they are little girls that they're raising up in the Longhouse and teaching them their cultural ways so that they're strong in their identity, so they know their songs and they know who they are. Patsy has worked throughout Indian country. She's a member of the Topnish Creek Longhouse, where they sustain their tribal practices. In perpetuating the tribe's inherent rights, Patsy advocates and supports for tribal sovereignty, treaty rights, voting rights, health and welfare issues, civics education, and is a fierce advocate for MMIW. Patsy has lobbied and has been asked to speak in Olympia and helped to get Washington state legislation passed, as well as in Oregon, and has gotten legislation passed for MMIW. Patsy is especially passionate in her role with AT&I, the 56 tribes here in the Northwest. She has served on the executive board and serves as the education committee chair for 25 years. With her early foundation of the tribe's indigenous ways of knowing, she was prepared to pursue a BA in education with a teaching certificate at Central Washington University in Ellensburg and a Master of Education at Fort Wright College in Spokane, Washington. During the past 50 years, she has been teaching and managing the education spectrum from early childhood adult education. She has served 2 terms as president of the National Indian Education Association. Ms. Whitefoot is honored to be appointed by President Obama to the National Advisory Committee on Indian Education. She was also appointed by Secretary Sibelius to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Patsy currently serves on the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center as an MMIW family advisor and trainer in Indian country. In response to the Not Invisible Act of 2020, she was appointed by Interior Secretary Holland to commission to make recommendations to the Department of Interior and Justice to reduce violence against Native women and girls and trafficking of Native Americans and Alaskan Natives. Ms. Whitefoot continues to reside on the ancestral homelands and has 3 adult children and feels especially blessed to be a grandmother and great-grandmother today. And our last OG auntie, we'd like to recognize Deborah Vivette. Deborah Vivette, most people you don't hear or see, they're not on tribal council. But Deborah Vivette has a bachelor's in mechanical engineering from Gonzaga University at a time where indigenous women didn't get to go to college, right, or didn't have those opportunities. Deborah Vivette served as a design engineer for Boeing commercial aircraft from 1989 to 1991. She was a senior staff engineer for United Airlines from 1991 to 2008. She was an acting executive for the Spokane Tribal Enterprises in 2009. That's where we got to work together. She also served as the CEO of Vivette Han LLC, structural design and certification engineer with the Boeing Company from 2011 to 2018 with full retirement. She has a lot of personal activities and is board of directors of Native American Health Centers, San Francisco, Oakland, California. She's on the board of directors of Spokane Tribal Enterprise 2009 and served as chair. She's the vice chair of Boeing American Indian Society. This is just some of her professional career, but she did many projects in tribal communities, and she will share that her greatest accomplishment are her 3 children. And I will finish with her quote. My greatest accomplishment are my 3 children, and I would contend that the indigenous voices of my ancestors and OG aunties, my grandmothers, my aunties, and others are channeled through us and through her, and have made everything that she's done possible. Those voices may have been spoken, or they could have been acted out as examples for her. And that's how she sees her resiliency perpetuated. through each new generation of aunties. Deborah Vivette.